Good morning, everyone. My name is Phú Hải. It's a Dr. Phú Hải from lecture from RMIT Việt Nam. Today, I want to start our our seminars is about creativity, the game changer. This is one of the activities in the Vietnam Festival Creativity and Design 2020, organized by RMIT Việt Nam and UNESCO, also with VCAS and and collab, and the media sponsored by Hanoi Graphite. So today, I will introduce a very new topic about creativity in advertising. And start for the whole 3 days event. We're talking about the creativity in the crisis, and then we have some of the talks and the event and seminars to discuss the solutions and also the applications in the future as well. I'm proudly to come here today with us is Mr. Sang Vũ, is a general manager of Saatchi Saatch Việt Nam, and Mr. Huy Nguyễn is a creative director from Saatchi Saatch Việt Nam as well. So we will have a discussion later on the topic today. Okay, before we move to our topic of today, I want to set a very foundations understanding what we're talking about today. Okay, so. All right, so the whole idea of today's talk is based on this book. So this book, we found that is written by Orlando Wood. He is the chief of innovations officers from System 1 Group. And we found that there is some of the things that we need to consider or to think about our advertising in Vietnam, okay, about applying the creativity as well. So in this book, he said that the creativity in advertising is in crisis. The crisis is here is about, we don't debate, we don't talking about right or wrong today. We just open the opportunity for everyone to contribute the idea, opinions about creativity in advertising industry, so that we can learn or we can apply in the future as well. Okay, everyone can talk about your opinion as well. So in this book, Orlando talking about. Sorry.
Tôi lớn lên cùng Nutri Food. Và các học sinh của tôi cũng lớn lên cùng Nutri Food.
Tại Trung tâm dinh dưỡng Nutri Food Thụy Điển và Việt Nam, sau nhiều nỗ lực không ngừng nghỉ, Nutri Food tự hào giới thiệu công thức FDI độc quyền, xây dựng vững chắc nền tảng để kháng khỏe.
Back lại cái slide. One more. Yes. So basically, the book based on the principle of left brains and right brains, operations on the creativity in advertising, and as you know that the creativity and the advertising is based on to send a message to the customers and to make them to process the information, everything's about to support about the brand or something like that. So the functions of that two brands of the customer is to give the rationale, to give the the informations to process, to buy, or to think or to feel about the product as well, or the brand as well. So the left brand is functions is like radical and very rational thinking, and the right brain is more about creative or something like that. So based on the research of Orlando in the book, he say that nowadays almost of the advertising on the market is a lot of radical thinking. It means that about rational thinking rather than the right brain creativity. So we want to apply that one into our talk today, and to see how Vietnamese industry, advertising industry, perform, and is that the same what Orlando has pointed out in his book as well. So that is open the opportunity for us to discuss about about creativity in advertising. Okay, to facilitate our, discussion today, I will show you the first two advertising. All right, and the one is very long in the past already in 2008, and the second one is very recently, it's 2020. So in the same brand as well, and then we start our discussion today. Okay. So, do you think this one is a left brand thinking or right brand advertising?
Tôi lớn lên cùng Nutri Food. Và các học sinh của tôi cũng lớn lên cùng Nutri Food.
Tại trung tâm dinh dưỡng Nutri Food Thụy Điển và Việt Nam, sau nhiều nỗ lực không ngừng nghỉ, Nutri Food tự hào giới thiệu công thức FDI độc quyền, xây dựng vững chắc nền tảng để kháng khỏe, tiêu hóa tốt, giúp trẻ hấp thu tốt hơn các dưỡng chất, tối ưu tiềm năng phát triển chiều cao, cân nặng và trí não.
Chúng tôi lớn lên cùng Nutri Food.
Và con tôi cũng lớn lên cùng Nutri Food.
Nutri Food Pro Plus, nhãn hiệu sữa trẻ em số 1 Việt Nam, vững nền sức khỏe, thỏa sức lớn khôn.
Okay. And do you think this is a left brand advertising or right
lớn
brand?
lên cùng Nutri Food.
Anyone have any opinions? Yes. Okay. There are a lot of affirmations. Okay. Yeah. Any other opinion or you agree with that, students? Okay. Okay, same idea. Okay. Who say it's a left brand? Just raise hand, please. Okay. All right. Who say right brands? You don't raise your hand. It means the right brand or the left brand. You don't know. Okay. All right. We're watching another one. Okay. Next one.
Tôi lớn lên cùng Nutri.
Okay. And this one, okay, it's must be right brand, yeah. It's because there's a lot of, emotions and a lot of cultural references in the advertising as well. So the first one is more a lot of feature like, iconic, something like that, to get the consumer, think and rationale to buy the product. To think about the product as well, to support their information process to buy the product. The second one is more about the cultural references in the advertising, and there's some of implicit communications in the advertising as well. So this is just a signal for us about our industry at the moment, the advertising at the moment, and we not justify it's not the good side. Is that the bad side for us, okay? But just the opportunity, we think that the contributions of, those creative executions on, the business and also on the advertising industry. So what happened next? So that's why today I'm very pleased to invite, Saatchi Saatchi, who is a very famous, is well known in the market, in the advertising industry, to have the discussions with you guys, okay? And now, just please welcome Mr. SÁNG TЭO and Mr. Huy Nguyễn. Okay, to facilitate for this one, we're doing this discussion. It's not like give you a lot of presentations. It's more about the discussions, the questions, and answer questions. So on the right hand side will be Mr. Sang Vũ, who represents as a lab brain thinking, because he started from managing of Saatchi Saatchi, and obviously Huy Nguyễn is a creative director. So I want to invite him in the right brain position, so we can discuss one topic in the two different brain half to see the idea is in two sides of the brain. That's all. Okay, we should welcome. Right, so we have a discussions around 20 to 30 minutes, and then after that we have a Q&A sections for two of our guests. All right, before we start our discussions, I want you guys to share with our students and also the audience about introduce a little bit about yourself.
So I go first. So my name is San Vũ Minh San. So I think it's a great opportunity to be here today. I believe this topic was never discussed in the market, and I think I'm very lucky because I went through. I would say I went through the golden age of Vietnam advertising, right? I would say that were between 2000 and 2010. Right? That's it. We have quite a very good 10 years. Even though I started my career, I started my job in advertising in 2003 or 4, I believe. But then I managed to stay around long enough and to witness the change, and then apparently, naturally, everyone would think that okay, the industry is supposed to become more and more creative. We back then we didn't have any school teaching advertising in Vietnam, and now we have a lot of universities have the advertising department teaching creativity. And the question is, I hope you will feel it for yourself, right? You look at the ad that Hải will show to you, and then you make a conclusion for yourself. The purpose here is not proving who's right and who's wrong. I came up with the list by myself and gave to Hải, and I did it on purpose, to put the same brand. Some of the brand still belong to the same company. Even to the same owner, but we don't know what really happened, right? Why? Why? I would say why the client or the company now they buying ad that generate, I believe, less profit for them, because we have data on that. Back then, actually. We didn't have much data, but I guess we rely very much on gut instinct. We rely very much on how the right brand think. Nowadays, with on the booming of digital of data, right? I think we have much more data than insights, and therefore the consequence. And also I have my creative director here. He's been also around long enough. He spent 10 years at Saatchi and Saatchi. He went through different briefing. He received, I would say, different brief nowadays. He worked with different clients with different buying style. He witnessed, where the focus shifted nowadays compared to 7-8 years ago. So I believe here we own enough to went through that period, and now looking back have the benefit of hindsight. So please.
Yep. Hi everyone. I start working in the industry since 2008. So I witnessed the huge change in advertising. I remember at that time, somebody told me that if you want to move further, you should explore digital. You should learn about digital from now. I was quite skeptical about that, but now I see the digital age is developing so fast, and as Saatchi, we just start do digital 2 years ago when SÁNG moved in Saatchi as GM. But for now, I think that at that time I quite feel lost, but now I'm more confident, and I think whatever the forms of channel, the idea still there. We still need the idea, and I haven't been study in any proper school of communication, but I think that I have worked with many great creative directors. So I hope that what I know in the industry I may share today will help you guys in some way.
Thank you for the sharing about yourself of SÁNG and Huy. So the very first question is about to SÁNG. Let's start from the very beginning about some of the product of the brand is quite very sensitive to show up in the advertising industry. For example, like some personal stuff like sanity pad or condom or something like that is very sensitive to selling in the industry. So do you think that those of the kind of the product needs more creativity? As I know that before you have some of the witness of Cortex. Yeah, Cortex is one of the very successful brands when they introduced their very first advertising in the market about those type of the products, and they applied the creativity in very long time ago. And can you say sharing about the development of that creativity from Cortex from the past to the present as well?
Yeah, that's very interesting, and again I feel I'm lucky enough to have stories, and because I was there to talk about this, right? So let's take sanitary napkin as an example. I think Vietnam is quite special, right? So let's say the category came into the market, or company started putting the money behind advertising for the category, let's say 15 years ago. So Vietnam is special in a way that a lot of categories were new to consumer, right? And then also we are an Asian country, with a lot of confusion values, and then it's a taboo, right? The category was booming, and then the challenge is how to talk about that thing, that topic on TV screen, right? Of course, Kimberly-Clark, they came in, they put the money and advertise, and of course, you need to educate people, or you need to tell people what we are selling, yeah? And of course you have to show the product, right? And you have to show how the product works with that famous blue liquid, swirling, and then that thing suck it in, right? And then imagine 15 years ago, you were having dinner with your family, and that thing just appear on TV, right? And you were eating, and people, our consumer, they wrote letter to TV station and say, how dare you do that? You know, how dare you talk about, you know, period? Why my family are having dinner together, right? Then the category have to adapt, and then we say, you know, maybe it's enough. You know, after the first 2 years, people know, you know, what the pet do, right? So let do something. Let look about what the pet, you know, help people feel. And again, because of those conditions, then we had to change. Then we look at that and we say, so I use the word we, but no, but let's say that team look at the situation and say, okay, the most potential customer or consumer back then was the emerging teenager, right? And I will show you the ad. You would laugh at it because they not, you know, they know where a school you are nowadays, but it's a big thing. It's a big thing, and then they came up with the provision of, you know, be confident to show who you are, right? And when I was a teenager, right, we all look the same, right? We all had the same haircut. We all wear the same uniform to school. Absolutely no tattoo, no hair dyeing, right? Nothing, right? And then imagine that brand were the first brand in the market to separate those, right? Were the first people, were the first brand, right, to encourage, basically to create a teen culture in Vietnam. Right? Again, look at the context. And now, of course, you look at that, say, oh, you know, it's nothing much. But back then, and there you go. Yeah? They create a culture icon, right? And they even coin a term, a new name for a sub-name for the whole category. They call it Saatchi. Okay? And the word Saatchi is written in Vietnamese. Not, of course, it was inspired from the word style, right? But they did it on purpose. They wrote it in, you know, SI with the dấu huyền and then tin, right? And it's become like it became part of the local language. Right? Oh, you look very Saatchi or Saatchi. And then a cultural phenomenon came out from there, because when you have the freedom to move away from, you know, the actual physical product, which you were not the only one in the market who had the capability to produce, right? Because you have other product too. You have Dyna, you have Whisper. And I usually tell my client, right, don't, if you work in FMCG, right, please not think that, you know, your product is an iPhone. Maybe iPhone, there's only one iPhone in the world. Most of the brand owners think their product is an iPhone, right? Their product is so unique. That's why they love talking about their product, right? And then there you go. You know, we had that platform going on for I don't know 5-6 years, and the brand grew, you know, super well, became a cultural phenomenon. They managed to launch the very first hip hop competition, Bước Nhảy Saatchi. Back then, it was, let's say, a school as rap Vic nowadays. And I say why it was a phenomenon, because imagine, right? Nobody want to see the pet on TV, but imagine one Saatchi adopt that approach. Even boys, they joined the band. Eh? When we had event, boys were willing. Came to the event using the packaging to exchange for ticket. Where do you get that? I took it from my sister and my mom. They used the packaging, and suddenly there were no stigma, right? So people, you know, and the brand grew so well on the metrics. Again, back to the visit, on the metrics of the brand went to the roof. Even though back then I remember, if you put the product of Kotex and Dyna to the lab, right? The performance of the actual product of Kotex Saatchi would be a little bit, you know, less than Dyna. But when we measure on the metrics, right, people give the brand on the super high score. Right? They say the product is better, the brand is more innovative. This is the brand for me. Okay? So I would use the phrase that love is blind. You know? When you love someone, then you ignore all of those person, all of that person weaknesses. Okay? So that's how brand grow. And then suddenly, I saw that suddenly one day there was a change in management at a regional level, and the company and the team they decided even globally now we have to become a product-centric company again. Okay? So I was shocked, and even expat marketing people they flew in Vietnam back then. And we had a workshop, and they were saying maybe we are a little bit too edgy, and I was shocked. Right? It's like, this is Vietnam, right? What you mean by we are a little bit too edgy? Right? That every brand would love to be that edgy as we are now. Everyone would love to be a cultural icon like Coca-Cola, like Honda. They become a part of the local language, and they decided to remove the word "sitin." Okay, so they killed it. Now you have style, right? They have style. And I think now the brand is still doing well, but it's 1 year it's a market leader, the other year it falls behind. So it fluctuates. Okay? Back then you see long-term growth, right? Grow is very steady. It's just like this. Okay? Nowadays it's like this, more like this. And I also remember Diana. I talked to someone from Diana, and they were so happy. They were so happy that Kotex dropped it. Okay? Dropped the tự tin khoe cá tính. Okay? They're so happy, and they say no. Now we are the only sanitary napkin brand in the market that talk about là con gái thật tuyệt. Their major thematic campaign would feature no product at all. And they have that privilege now. Right? Before they could only dream of being, the Kotex city of Vietnam. Now finally they have it. Okay, so that the behind the scenes story. So again, I'm not saying or proving that someone doing something wrong or fail. All I want to say is I see it as a missed opportunity. I'm not proving anyone do wrong. I just tell you the story and the facts behind. So hopefully when you enter the industry someday you look at it from both creative angle and again business angle.
Okay, thank you, Sang. And now I will showcase you 2 advertising from Kotex. Okay, one is from 2008, which is a confident to be myself. To show yourself or something like that. And the Kotex 2020 is a compact, squeezing your own words. All right.
Đừng nói tôi khác biệt khi tôi là chính tôi. Đừng nói tôi màu mè khi tôi xin một sắc màu. Đừng nói tôi chơi trội, chỉ là tôi cá tính thôi. Hãy nói tôi tự tin, vì tôi tự tin là chính tôi. Kotex Sitin tự tin khoe cá tính, này hoàn toàn mới với hương aloe vera. Đừng nói tôi chơi trội, chỉ là tôi cá tính thôi. Hãy nói tôi tự tin, vì tôi tự tin là chính tôi. Kotex Sitin tự tin khoe cá tính, này hoàn toàn mới với hương aloe vera.
Yeah, it's a big deal. A big deal. Be looking like a tomboy, it's no. Nobody dare to mention the gay word. Nobody dare to have their hair dyed in blue color. Right? Women playing soccer, no. Right? So you have to imagine back then that thing appear on mainstream TV. It's were huge.
Okay, and now the current one.
Kotex mini mèo, diện mạo khuấy đảo, gập mở phá cách, nhỏ gọn bất ngờ. Chiếm trọn tìm crush, sáng chọn spotlight. Cháy chọn đường đua, chất trời hết cỡ. Cô text mini mail, nhỏ gọn, chọn thế giới riêng.
So actually nothing wrong with that. Eh? It's very contemporary, very trendy, eh? But nothing new. Right? It's on trend. Another fact I would like to mention, right? So you look at Codex 16 back then, and so the question is, so who were buying the brand? Data show that actually, yeah, teenager, of course, and then there's a huge chunk of people who were between 28 and 35. Right? So, and of course they were not teenager, but they bought into it. So so the explanation is, at least when you stand for something like Codex 16 back then, right? You stand out. You stand out. You were famous, and that's when the concept of brand fame came in. Right? It's very important. You stand for something. That really helped the brand to build memory structure in people brand. So when they go to supermarket, that brand come up in the top of the consideration list. Okay? So it helped the buying decision making become very, very easy. Okay? So that's how it works. So it doesn't mean it's excluded the older target, right? Then the ad you just saw, right? Then the question, okay, would it appeal to the older target group? That's the thing. Because it's very trendy, but that kind of trend is for, I guess more for the young people, right? You cannot please everyone with a certain fashion style. Not really.
Okay, thank you, Sang. And you can see that there is the differences between two advertising as well. So the first one is more than about talking about the target audience or something like that, so point of view. And the second one is more about a lot of iconic, a lot of icon, trendy icon, like the cat fit is is a very trendy or popular game online, social media game. So that's. Do you think that as a creative director, so do you think that the current one of advertising is more have a link to the trends of nowadays of the target audience, or because of the taste of the target audience make the marketer or the advertiser to change their mindset to produce some of the advertising like that?
Yeah. So actually, nowadays we see a lot of advertising like the male one of Codex. Yes. We can see that it's kind of use interesting visual, abstract visual, colorful, something like that. If it's just an art, it's really good. An artwork is really good, but we have to remember that if it's a commercial, it's not just an art. It needs to create the emotion to make people love the brand and then help yourself. So we need a story, a backstory, a more like through dialogue or fluent device. Because in my experience, I work a lot in the detergent with detergent products. So just take an example. The advertisement I remember the most in detergent section is THAY. They use the fluent device is the very wide clean stripe. So the commercial is a girl running on the field, relaxing, chilling, and then suddenly the stripe, the product appears and like whoosh, a very clean bright stripe make a very white bright mark on her dress. So that's the moment I know that detergent is very bright, bring the very white color to my clothes. Nowadays, the most of detergent ad will be talk more about what ingredients in the ad, what the detergent, or like comfort. They use very abstract art, very colorful things, but it doesn't give people any emotion to remember. So that's the problem.
And also you can witness that in the market at the moment. There is a lot of advertising using a lot of voiceover. This means that they talking a lot on the ad as well, and to explain something on what happening in the ad. So that's why it's sometimes it's less metaphor. They're using less metaphors. They use more about voiceover. And I will show you that two advertising from La Vie, okay, and to see how metaphors and voiceover works in two different ads.
Tôi là La Vie, sinh ra từ vùng núi xa, vượt qua chặng đường dài thách thức, kiên trì xuyên qua tầng địa chất, tích tụ khoáng chất để hoàn thiện bản thân, trở thành nước khoáng thiên nhiên La Vie, sẵn sàng cùng bạn chinh phục hành trình mới. La Vie, một phần tất yếu của cuộc sống.
Okay, and the second one is from 2013. 2008, sorry.
Tôi là La Vie.
So what do you think about that two advertising?
So this is one of the brand that I hold dearly to my heart, because I work on it for a long time. So again, you look at that, right? One of the point that right brand thinking. If you apply it into creating advertising, then you expect the viewer or the consumer to be a collaborator in meaning making. Right? If you apply your left brain approach, then you expect consumer to be just a receiver, right? You explain to them. Okay, this is, you sit there, listen. I tell you exactly what it means, because you may not be able to understand it, right? And I think that really like looking down at them, and I usually say to my client, are you seriously thinking that our consumer become more stupid nowadays than before? Right? Because you look at you immerse yourself in it, right? And good advertising is on about it's on about being able to generate an intense response from the viewer, and again, you look at the two ads and you ask yourself, right? Who was supposed to be the target audience? Of course, when you buy media, you have to buy certain program, right? And if you want to be, famous, and then a lot of people see you, right? That's very important. Then you need to be on national TV, on prime time. So even the character or the people you decide to put in the ad also imply, who the brand is for, right? I think the first one, the newer one, showing young people, right? The first one, anyone can fall in love with it. Right? And again, back then, La Vie was so great and clearly was a market leader because everyone, regardless, how old you are, could buy into that ad and have a positive association with that thing, right? It gives you a sense of mythical. La Vie was the natural mineral water. Nowadays, people think Aquafina is just a natural La Vie. Back then, without explaining so much that, I came from, I don't know, the sky and under the, people got it. People said, okay, this is more natural than any water out there, right? Without having to explain, what you really are, or what you are at a functional level, without being so literal, right? And if you have to articulate it, it's very simple. The idea, right? Even water lovers love La Vie, right? Again, a sense of being mythical, and everyone would maybe decode the ad differently, and that's the beauty of it. It's just like you go to a movie, and you have different interpretation for your own, and you enjoy it. Again, collaborator in the meaning making process. Right? Nowadays, most ad on TV dictates, there's only one way to understand the ad, and I want to force you to understand the communication in which way. Right? Then you lose that beauty, and people don't participate, mentally participate when they see your advertising, and again, it will damage the memory structural building process, which is very important, for any brand to be in top of mind awareness list.
As a creative director, so do you think that which way is the best way or the good way for help the customer to process the information when they watch advertising?
As I say, advertising should create emotion to get the awareness from consumers. So that's why the second one with the mermaid can do that job. With the first one, you guys may see that there's too much voiceover, and not only one the ad from Navi, but nowadays we easily see a lot of ads. That's something like a mom appears, talk to camera, say that as a mom, I want all the best for my family, I do this for my child, I do this for my husband, and then the product come up as, that's why I choose this. So to me, it's like a kind of a presentation. It's not any, don't have any idea. It's just a presentation you just present the inside, you just present the ingredients of the product. It's not the idea.
That's cool. Also the voiceover, they can talk or they can sing or they can rap as well, right? So nowadays you can see a lot of advertising, they're using rap to replace for the voiceover, and it's also make the customer to remember about the melody, the rhythm, rather than to remember what they say.
I think that music is a good way because music stimulates our right brain, but the way we use it is more important. So we see a lot of ads that can be more emotion because of the music, but at least it have the idea. Yeah.
Okay, to add from that, we can see that there are two examples from one brand as well. Is about the communications. Is nowadays we less implicit communications, but more explicit communications. That's mean that tell people what they have to think and what they have to know about the information from the advertising. So these are the examples from Thiên Long. So and one is from 2012 and one is very recently 2019. Okay, the first one is 2019. The power of knowledge.
Con muốn học thật giỏi và theo đuổi ước mơ để thay đổi cuộc sống.
Tôi mơ ước mọi trẻ em đều được đến trường.
Tôi khao khát biến bản sắc văn hóa Việt đậm nét riêng và đáng tự hào thành nguồn cảm hứng mới.
Tôi mong muốn giữa đô thị hiện đại, thế hệ sau vẫn được sống hòa mình với thiên nhiên.
Tôi đam mê nghiên cứu công nghệ để người nông dân bớt vất vả.
Với tri thức, chúng ta có thể hiện thực hóa những ước mơ. Thiên Long, sức mạnh tri thức.
Okay, and the second one is from 2012. Do you know?
Bạn có biết thời gian bay kỷ lục của gà là 13 giây. Voi còn nhẹ hơn lưỡi cá voi xanh. Não chúng ta có thể chứa gấp 5 lần thông tin của bộ bách khoa toàn thư. Và Thiên Long không chỉ có bút bi mà còn nhiều văn phòng phẩm đa dạng giúp thổi hồn vào tri thức. Thiên Long, sức mạnh tri thức.
Okay.
So same proposition, right? The power of knowledge. But one have, one of the best production value back then. It was the most expensive animation back then. I would say back then, 10 years ago. And I'm wondering, right? For the newer one, do the character have to say I have a dream? Or we just need to show it, show don't tell. And again, you look at two approach. The animation one, and it's not about actually the idea behind, fun fact. Okay? We have so many things in the world, because our world is awesome, right? And the idea head legs. When I mean head legs, I mean that I was so proud to see that the Thiên Long managed to keep it out for so many years. Before that, and it's amazing, right? They Thiên Long, the gap between the TVC 10 years, they didn't have any TVC in between. So when they finished the TVC of the stationary world, every single notebook of Thiên Long, they have that fact. They have all the random facts. Every time you open it, I saw something. I say, okay, this is what I together with the team back then created, and then it have a long-lasting life. my question with the second approach, right? How it can go beyond just that film, right? So what you gonna do with that? What can you put on your product? And the animation one, I remember I made a mistake, right? I made a mistake when I suggested client to test it, and then we say, okay, so how are we gonna test it? Then we would have to draw a storyboard, but it was impossible to draw a storyboard, right? Because the idea is to combine all the stationary, thingy, and become object of the world, right? So that it purely you have to use your imagination, and thankfully the client decided not to test it. They put the full trust in the agency, and then we directly brief the animation studio to create a whole world, which means we had to sign contract, right? Then you need to have that courage to go, and only they after finish building the whole world, and then we know how it looked like. Right? It was impossible to test, right? because how no visual artist in Vietnam can draw any storyboard depicting how those stationery can come together and become an elephant, become a boat, you know. So that's why for me execution is also super important. Nowadays most of the marketer and agency focus so much on the content, not the forms. The form is also very important. We had the script, but without the animation artist, it would never come to life that way, and bring to life such a wonderful experience. Right?
Yeah, thank you. As you guys just mentioned about, nowadays the advertising is the audience is like a receiver. It's not just a part of the meaning making process. So it means that can you explain? So can you explain for us about what is the using of the double meaning in advertising? Is that the same way with explain the meaning? Because nowadays I saw a lot of advertising like the voiceover like this, and the motion pictures is like explain what they're saying. It's not about the double meaning in advertising. So can you share a little bit about this in advertising?
Yeah, as anh Sang say that what show don't tell.
Yeah.
In advertising, especially when we talk to the right brand, our right brand will in love with metaphor, wordplay, ambiguity. So if we explain too much about what's going on the screen, what they see, it's like we force them to receive the message. Yeah, it's not naturally, because they need our right brain need the metaphor to stimulate. They need to think. So that's the way of nowadays we don't use metaphor anymore. We're very straightforward.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think marketer nowadays, I think they mistaken the concept of being ambiguous or ambiguity with confusion. Right? That's their worst nightmare of consumer may be confused. And I think also one of the reasons is that nowadays creative agencies most of the time are not allowed to be part of the creative development research and anymore with a very good skill of objectivity. Nowadays marketer, they worry so much that if the creative or the planner came in, he or she may influence the researcher and may distort the result. But I think that's a totally big mistake, because only the agency people understand the creative development and know or understand why they came up with that, and then And then, you know, if they participate in the creative process, then the research process, then we can learn, right? Rather than you know, distort or go behind the scene and try to manipulate the research results. Right? So that's one of the big reason. Right? And then nowadays, too much money is spent into creative testing, but not creative development. Research. When the moment client bring the storyboard or the creative work to test, they all got already censored by the labyrinth thinking. There was no room to say, okay, what, you know, if we do this, then how? Let's see how consumer react to that, right? So creative testing nowadays is just reconfirm what, you know, client already bought, rather than exploring you know, what may work with consumer.
Okay, to add to this, so we have a showcase of two advertising from one brand that we call Vinamilk Pro B. So the very first one is 2014, and the second one 2018, and how they depict the useful bacteria, and you can say that.
Trong đường ruột có lợi khuẩn và có cả hại khuẩn. Lợi khuẩn dễ trở nên yếu thế trước hại khuẩn nếu không được củng cố hàng ngày. Sữa chua Vinamilk Pro B bổ sung khoảng 1 tỷ lợi khuẩn mỗi ngày cho đường ruột, giúp tăng cường hệ miễn dịch. Sữa chua Vinamilk Pro B sống khỏe mỗi ngày với 1 tỷ lợi khuẩn.
And you can have pay attention about the useful bacteria in this TVC and the next one TVC. Have you seen the useful bacteria in that? Okay, when I watch this one, I'm laughing a lot. I laugh out loud because when the voiceover say 1 billion, you know, useful bacteria, and on the screen the word of 1 billion bacteria as well. So that is the way they explain what they're saying. It's not about, you know, they depict what is, you know, useful bacteria.
So if you look at most advertising nowadays, right? Again, don't get me wrong, it's still a great brand, right? It's a great product. I love the product. It's become a formula. For the newer one, you have 30 seconds. The first one, you also have 30 seconds. You spend usually, normally 7 to 8 seconds, sometimes up to 9 seconds for the so-called product demo, right? Which is totally have nothing to do with the main story, right? You cut away. Yeah, you have a family, then you cut away. You show that, I don't know, expert pretending to be a scientist, and talk about how the bacteria work, and I think it's a waste. Because if you want to talk the product, how it works, then do it wholeheartedly. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not promoting or advocating. Oh no, let's do emotional story only. But if you believe in how your product works, how great it is, then do it wholeheartedly. That's the first one. Right? The first one for me is one of very good way to bring the product demo to life. Right? The second one, and every single research I attended, right? Every time when it comes to that part, data show that consumer lose interest. But 90% of client, FMC client nowadays, they still insist to have that part. And so why can we turn that part into the whole story? So we don't have to cut away from the main story. And then every time they brief us on, okay, let's have a 30-second TVC. Actually, we have only 21 seconds to tell a story, and then the story become incomplete. Okay? So try to, you know, the experience of watching the two is very different. One is very jumpy. One is very smooth, talking about the same topic of, you know, how the bacteria work inside your body. But one, you get it, and even, you know, they use the letter and they say, okay, there's 1 billion in your intestine, and yeah, they didn't have to say it. Yeah? Show, don't tell, whenever you can, And then if you tell, then tell when it matters.
So that explains nowadays less stories in advertising, and also I didn't see I haven't seen a lot of like cultural references in our advertising nowadays as well. We have more monologue and things, and they use people in advertising is like a props. It's not about the character. Is that correct, Huy?
Yes, as I say, an example I already said that. For example, in the TVC, we see a mom saying that, saying this, and then the product comes up. That mom is a prop, not a character, because we don't have any mom in the real life will talk like this. Yeah. And you say about
the story culture references.
The cultural reference example is like the British đương đi bằng chân Việt. Yeah. So in the past is a kind of the way we use cultural references. Or the Yahoo commercial, we use the story of tấm cám. Or the old greatest people used to be a child. Is a way to use to add in the cultural references. We have to mention this because nowadays because we work a lot with regional client that based in Singapore, and usually they will tell us, they will show us the ads from other markets like in the Philippines, and they use the same insight for Vietnamese people. They want us to adapt it. And there's some taste is very different. For example, they show a chubby boy, and they say that people love it, so you should inject the chubby boy in. And it's not that way Vietnamese will see a kid nowadays. With the trend, we will want to see more a kind of healthy kid. They active or something like that, not like just see a chubby kid like doing some stuff very funny. It's really the taste of all the markets. So we need the cultural reference in specific local market. Yeah.
And now I can show you one of our example for this one is a Yahoo from 2008. Okay, and I don't think you have seen this one like this, the advertising like this nowadays. And this is Yahoo tấm cám story. In Vietnamese, I cannot translate it to English. This is a máy lửa đậu, right? Bean separated machine.
Dạ mẹ.
Chưa lựa đậu xong, khỏi đi hội nha con.
Không có hoài.
And you can see that this story is they're using the culture, the traditional culture stories to tell a story to the customer, because they know all of those stories and how to integrate the product. They not separate, the components of the part in the advertising to insert the product, and the product is the part of the story as well. So so that is how the executions.
Okay. So there are two things I would like to bring up about this. Right, this is one of the best way to use celebrity. You pay them to work for your brand, and you manage to maximize their talent. their acting talent, right? Most of the day, most of the time nowadays, you see one celebrity and say, okay, you know, this is me. I having this problem, therefore I'm using the product, or you know, I'm using the product too, right? This one you make them work very hard for your brand. They don't need to sing. And again, dialogue. Right? Nowadays, most of the ads have a lot of VO, but monologue, here dialogue, and the dialogue contribute to the story. Nowadays, the VO try to explain to you like a teacher to student. Okay, you know, that is what you need to know, right? From the example you've just seen. And then when my agency did that, which were a different agency, each were the early day of digital marketing, and then we managed to maximize those components from the ad when you have a great creative work like that, and you put the element out, and we ask people to you know, there are many sound elements they could download and put and turn it into their ringtone, right? The ringtone, and then it was very interesting. So everyone thought that, you know, consumer would download the Yahoo Yodel at the end and save it at their ringtone, right? But it turned out that actually the sound of the monkey, if you remember the sound monkey, it became the most popular ringtone back then, not the Yodel. So it was, and again back then it was really fun working on the project, even though I was involved in it minimally. I couldn't, I cannot claim that I was behind this work, but I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, and you can see that is all of those showcases. You can see nowadays the advertising is more left brain thinking. Okay, it's more flat. It's not about connections, no lively or something like that in advertising. So one of very important in creative advertising is more you have the big idea. Okay, so as we think that nowadays is all the big idea is the same, or all the advertising is have no big idea or something like that.
How to say, some have big idea, but the execution is not good. I mean, to convey that big idea. Some, I think, just present the inside. Yeah, they don't have any big idea to me.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, and okay, back to the business. Okay, when you do advertising, you need to know how the advertising contribute to your business as well. So how we can measure the advertising effectiveness?
You have that chart?
Yeah, the chart is in. We talk this one later. So we're talking about the long term and the short term impact of advertising. All right. So I want to show you a showcase of one of the brand. It's a local brand. Okay. Trà xanh không độ. It's a very exciting brand as well. So Trà xanh không độ is one of the very first trà xanh, you know, brand in the market as well. And we show how they start their brands in advertising.
Về đây ngàn cây, trà xanh mang sức sống đến cho đời, rừng mãi tuổi thanh xuân.
Trà xanh không độ, giải nhiệt cuộc sống.
Nay đã có thêm chai mới.
And you can see that back then trà xanh không độ is quite very lasting in the market, and until now there is a lot of another green tea RTD products, right, like T plus or First teas from Coca-Cola is in the market at the moment. But however, back then for that, do you think that advertising is contribute for their long-term standing in the market?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just know that it was the fastest growing brand in Vietnam back then, reported by The Economist. It was featured in the Economist magazine. And there are different theories. Right? One theory, one approach that when you launch a new product, a new category, you need to explain to people how the product works, or let's say you need to be a little bit more functional. The point is then I think they didn't do it on purpose, but when they launched it with that song, right, that music, it gives people a sense, you know, it brings people to the tea world, right? It defines that new category in a very emotional way, using the music, and then a few years later, it abandoned that approach, and the whole company obsessed with, you know, having to explain to people why they need to drink the drink. So I think it's a missed opportunity. It's one of the fastest growing brand, undisputed market leader. Nowadays, you know, it's still a strong brand, but struggling competing with you know, competitor from Pepsi. So let's see the new one. They've done the current style for several years, but I wish you know, if they could go back to when they launched the product, I think it would help them a lot and help them grow even faster.
Uống trà xanh công độ mỗi ngày, giàu vitamin C giúp tăng sức đề kháng. Vẫn đường dài mà 9 người 10 ý. Rồi qua, còn thêm nắng nóng khiến bạn căng thẳng mệt mỏi. Trà xanh công độ tuyển chọn từ trà Thái Nguyên tươi, giàu vitamin C và EGCG cùng vị chanh thanh mát giúp tăng sức đề kháng, rất sảng khoái.
Hey, cùng xoay chai để chọn hướng đi.
9 người nay cùng một ý. Cùng vui, cùng bắt trend với thiên nhiên. Hãy uống trà xanh công độ mỗi ngày, không lo căng thẳng mệt mỏi, giải nhiệt cuộc sống.
Mới, trà sữa macchiato không độ, làm từ lá trà Thái Nguyên và sữa thơm béo, ngon khó cưỡng.
Yeah, so basically you don't have time to breathe, right? You just have to say it. You say it, you know, like a lame version of a rapper.
Okay, so back to the very first time, you know, he also mentions about digital and social media impact on creativity. So do you think that is now this impact on creativity as well in advertising?
Yes, actually we always have the request from client that we need to do short form video. We need to do 6 seconds. Yeah, and the media department advise client to do that, so they ask us. But I think that the media department also need to understand about the brand building, so that they can avoid to just because they suggest without knowing the impact, the really impact of the idea on the brand. Just take an example. We do the launching for the old food tteokbokki. So we have 1 minute video, and then the media department suggests client to cut it into 6 second video. You know, 1 minute to 6 seconds. So at that time we have to talk with client that we still believe that the long form still work, and the minimum we can cut down is 15 seconds. I mean, in the film we have 3 scenarios, so we can cut down to 15 seconds to each for each. Yeah. So we have to persuade client, and luckily because client very nice and they trust us, So that's why we don't have to cut into 6 seconds. And the result turned out that the 15 seconds still work very well. And the impact, I have to say, is the same like 6 seconds. Yeah, but people, because 6 seconds, we don't have enough time to build up the drama. So if we cannot build up the drama, the emotion will not enough for consumer to be stimulated. Yeah, so that's why I think that the media department also need to know about the brand building also. Yeah.
That's cool. As Mr. Sang mentioned before, just 6 or 7 seconds or even 9 seconds, just only enough time for you to show the product only, not about, you know, to tell another story. So that's why, can I ask you about, so because of the digital and social media impact, you know, very large, huge at the moment. So what is the position of the traditional media at the time? For example, the TV.
The fact is that, you know, everyone, including me, right? We admire brand. I use the word brand. Like Facebook is a brand, Google is a brand. We admire them so much. But also, I guess the problem for creative community, they also publisher, they also media owner, and nowadays they have much bigger marketing budget than any advertising agency, right? So advertising we don't own any media. So basically they very smart. They have huge marketing budget, and when you have big marketing budget, then you go to brand, you go to client, and you tell them, okay, this is what you should do on. You know, this is how you should do advertising on Facebook, on Google, and they create guidelines. Right? They create guidelines, and then nowadays most of the young creative people, they create content on those platforms. They follow those guidelines, right? And I don't know if anyone work with Facebook, creative Facebook. There's a lot of guidelines, and it changes every year. Every time they change algorithm, you have to learn the guideline. Then creative people nowadays, they have to use their left brain, right? Because you have to learn, right? You have to think, you have to learn those rules and guidelines. You lose the ability to think conceptually, to think, to use metaphor, to think, you know, to use your right brain. But also they said, yeah, but don't worry. There's YouTube, and you see there are a lot of long form there, and then nowadays every young creative people, a person would get excited to do a long an online video or long format because they have more time to tell the story. So that's where most of the creativity effort nowadays were put into, right? But everyone forget the fact that you know, TV is still the most expensive, you know, medium, and every year, you know, big TV station, they increase the unit cost or the price of their 30-second you know, slot. Then I go back to the question, right? So then maybe nowadays we see a little bit more interesting advertising on online media, and then on TV you don't see that much. We don't see that much. So the question is, so where should the creativity effort should put into, TV or digital? If nobody watching TV anymore, so why TV stations still be able to increase their cost or their price every year? If you are an FMCG, from my experience, if you've been you know, communicating about your brand on TV, the moment you stop it, you saw your sales drop. So again, if you work on digital creative people nowadays, especially the young one, they tend to go to think on a very you know, you need to learn about the rule of those platforms, and think a bit like them. I believe on TV you have more freedom, but we see the opposite, scenario, right? Most of the ads on TV nowadays are not worth watching because they focus so much on messaging and explaining to people how the product work and client safe. And because digital is a bit cheaper, then for creative people you can have a little bit more freedom. But the impact, I would say it should be another way around. We should spend more creativity effort on TV, just like before. Of course, in the past, TVs were almost the only channel. So that's why, all the greatest effort of agency was put there. Right? So nowadays, we have a much more fragmented world. So again, please look at, please learn about which channel or which medium bring you the most profit, or which one is more profitable, and then we have some data to show, right?
So there's a mindset in client like this because they think that the cost of TV is really high, so that's why on the TVC they air, they all want to put all the ingredients, all the formula into that, and they want to save all the thing that emotion, video or something like that in digital. But it should be vice versa. Yeah, I mean,
the other way around.
The emotion one should be on TV because it can reach the mass.
Yep. And can you see this on the screen? Is a chart from the one of the research from UK. They're talking about the utility of TV, in the short term and in long term in the brand building as well. So TV is still, in the short term, they contribute about 62% of the short term efficiency. Compare with the online video or online display, it's just about, in total, it's about 7% in the short term efficiency.
That's the UK market. Yes.
Yeah, UK. Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You just give the number for briefs, anything.
You mean more traditional than here?
Yeah. And the long term is about, the long term multiplier is about 2 times. So I think we need to reconfirm this number in Vietnam market later on. Yeah. And everything to have a quick chat about the creativity in advertising, and it's very long time already. We haven't seen a lot of advertising that make us remember, or make us very emotions about that TVC. Okay, it's more flatness. And take back time. So if you remember those of the advertising, like this one, okay, and this reminds us a lot of things.
Tell me, when will you be mine? Tell me quando we can share love divine. Please don't make me wait again. When will you say yes to me?
So that actually there was a Vietnamese version. We couldn't find the Vietnamese version that were on air on TV, and I want to show that because you know what, back then every time I go to a focus group, right, and we're talking to housewives, right, we're not talking to drinking men, we're not talking to men, and usually the moderator will ask, okay, so so how are you ladies, which advertising you remember in these days, which ones you love. They all mention that. Right? They all mention this. So again, this is the power of a big brand. It's super inclusive. Those ladies, those housewives, they didn't necessarily drink the beer. They may buy it, And evidence-based marketing nowadays say that big brand they become big because they manage to reach or to connect with the biggest group of number of people, and including medium and or light or super light buyer or user, right? Data show that brand like Heineken back then, not now, and Coca-Cola, right? They so big because they have so many light buyer or user who drink or who buy the product once or twice a year, right? And because they have so many people like that, then every time they always have new user come into the market. Back to the point of TV. TV is so different from other medium because when you see a great ad on YouTube, on your mobile phone or your laptop, right? It's a personal experience, right? For TV, you watch it with your family, or even if you watch it alone. If it's on national TV, you feel or right, by instinct, that the whole society or everyone else, we see the same thing, right? We see the same thing. Then that comes to the concept or the definition of social proof, right? Oh, if I see this on TV, other family in the country must see the same thing. You feel belong to a group, and that's how you feel that, okay, that helps to be brand fame, right? Consumer nowadays, they know that if they see something on YouTube, because YouTube know who they are and they serve it on purpose, right? It doesn't mean your friend will see the same thing. It doesn't mean your brother or your family or your parent will see the same thing, right? That's a thing that digital cannot match, because they was built that way. That's how they charge, That's how they charge brand, and they make their money. Oh, I know exactly who I'm talking to. But again, brand work and big brand rely so much on the concept of brand fame and become a cultural icon that oh, I know that everyone knows that, or everyone knows this brand, everyone using this brand, even though it's just a perception. Right? The downside of digital is because it's personalized. Then whatever you see, you say, oh, only me see it. I don't think other people have the same feeling toward what I see.
And the whole country watching, feeling it the same way. Okay, fun to watch or touching to understand. So you watch another advertising, the last one.
S-Phone, nghe là thấy.
It's a great one, right?
Yeah. Okay. So it's well done by Saatchi, and back then, sometimes like people said that the ad was better than program. Right? The ad was better than the TV show. The TV show. But now hopefully we can improve the way we do in advertising nowadays, especially on TV, and because it's important, right? Because nowadays when I recruit young creative people who have 2-3 year experience, it's so difficult to get one that get how to create advertising that move people, or how to rate advertising that can bring brand the fame they deserve, and how, not to mention how to do TV advertising. Young people, they know very well how to do Facebook post ads, online video, yes, and a lot of tactical thinking. But going back to what is the definition of creativity in advertising would be very, very challenging, and I hope institutions like RMIT can help to go back looking back, try to find data to support or even debate, what we've been discussing in the last hour, because it totally neglected topic nowadays because of many reasons. Because every media agency have different agenda. Because Facebook and Google, they have their own agenda. Again, I just want to share a fact that even TikTok, right? TikTok this year, their rated slogan is don't make advertising, make TikTok video. Okay? And you know where they put that message? Where they put that message? On traditional media. Right? So because they have to advertise by themselves, right? They need to recruit user and people. And the irony is they have to rely on broad reach traditional media like billboard. If you go to Times Square in New York, they on big traditional media. The same to Google and Facebook. They admire them. I really admire them, and they know it so well. So they in order to recruit new user to their platform, right? They put their advertising on TV, and advise clients to put their advertising on their own platform, on Facebook and Google. See, so think about that. Right? Think about that, because they have to grow. Right? They need to grow. So, and they know the power of broad reach traditional media. Right? They're not stupid. They're super smart. But of course, when they in a unique position. Maybe creative agency, we don't own any medium. We're not publisher, but they do both. Right? So beware of what they teaching you or training you.
And the last one is about advertising influence on long-term brand building. So, and you can see that is a chart. Okay. In this.
Yep. So every brand, right? Every brand grow like this. Before you always you look at the ad and you say, okay, it's good, right? And I passed that I passed my innocent period when I say, oh, it's good, I love the ad. But then it's because it was so difficult to sell creative work to clients nowadays. Like not like before. Then say, well, so how it helped to grow your brand? And I try to find the answer, right? And then data show that brand, and please, go to read about Les Binet and Peter Thiel. Every brand, every business need to do both, right? Long-term growth and then short-term sales uplift. Creative work that have to brand fame, and usually we call it emotional, have a lasting impact in your mind. Why it's so important? Why it's so important? Because the reality is that most of the time when you talk or when you communicate to your consumer, right? Most of the time your consumer are not into the market, right? You don't know when they are so ready to buy you, right? Future growth means most of the time you talk to people who are not in the need of buy you immediately, no, right? You need to build memory structure so that when they need you, they think of you, right? Nowadays, with the development of digital, there's an illusion that okay, I can get you the moment you want to buy me, but that's the short-term thing, right? So a lot of short-term effort, are put into nowadays marketing activity, and you see the immediate impact. You can measure it. You know exactly how many likes you get. For performance marketing, you know how many sales you can achieve, right, immediately. That's why e-commerce is not about deal and sell and short-term thing. But then you compromise your long-term growth, which is so vital for any business and brand, right? Because you cannot survive only on short-term. The point is you have to do both things in parallel. Most of the time nowadays, brand and marketer, they're ignoring the orange line, and then the characteristic. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, so if we talk about brand building, okay, this is the characteristic, right? How to create mental brand equity, influence future sale, which is so important. Future sale is much more important because it helps the company last years to come. Broad reach, yeah, you have to reach mass in order to create the notion of the social proof. You have to think long term and emotional branding. That's how that's where the right brand work. Please study more about right brand because basically all decision making of human being based on system one thinking. And then on the other hand side, also very important. I'm not saying it's not important. Sales activation. You need to exploit mental brand equity. Generate sales now, direct response, right? That's most of e-commerce is doing. Highly targeted, digitally focused, short term and persuasive messages. The problem is we see so many persuasive messages from brand nowadays. So they try to persuade you why you need to buy them now, and forgetting that most of the time consumer don't have the need to buy into the category the moment they see your ad. You forget that. Maybe with the exception that when you browsing to buy, you want to buy something you are considering, and then they put it up, an ad on your Facebook with Tiki deal or Lazada deal, right? And even Adidas lately, right? They realize when they use econometrics model, which in Vietnam no company has used that to separate the impact of each channel. They realize that actually more than 65% of their e-commerce sales are contributed by the impact from traditional media. And the conclusion, they say, oh shit, they overspend on performance marketing. They thought that if they keep putting more ad banner, web banner to consumer face or follow them on Google or Facebook, that's where the sale come from. But no, people buy into the brand, order the brand on e-commerce because of the long-lasting effect they have from traditional advertising. They saw a billboard, they saw a TV ad about Adidas, and that's why they go to e-commerce and buy them. Not because they are nudged by digital advertising and contribute back to the e-commerce sales.
All right, thank you, Sang and Huy, to come to share with us about the very interesting topic. Is nowadays situations of creativity in advertising industry. Hopefully that will give you some of idea and opinions to contribute to your learning journey at in advertising as well. And hopefully in the future we have some of the product of the advertising that can connect with the target audience, connect with its emotion. And I still remember that's like 4 or 5 years ago when I went to the cinema. I tried to go early because I want to watch the TVCs, the advertising of the brands. But nowadays I try to come late about 5 or 10 minutes because I don't want to watch the whole of the TVC in the cinema. And I think that is changing the behavior of target of the audience as well, and that make a lot of thinking for our advertising industry in the future as well. All right, thank you Huy and Sang to come to share with us.